Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the March 16, 2021 meeting of the Planning Board. The first item on the agenda is Dolio Properties LLC, the Art of Building, 7 South Street. Do we have, where are they?
I don't know. I do not see Darren. Potentially we might have to skip and go back. I do not see
All right,
Darren.
we'll have to skip if they're not here. They should have been here by now. All right, we'll move on to this. We'll come back to them should they show up. Move on to the second item on the agenda, which is Monique Niero, 55 South Street, site plan approval. Is she here?
Yep,
Yeah.
I'm here. I
Okay,
just to figure out how to unmute my microphone.
okay. Guess we can't see you, but
Let me see. Okay, I got it. Sorry.
so the issue is, I guess there were a couple of things. Renovations were done without getting a building permit, and it's a historic building, and renovations were done without coming to the planning board for approval. So I guess we have to get people's opinions of what action should be taken now. We don't allow something like this. This is a historic building. It's on historic register, and it's had some bad alterations in the past, but that does not preclude it from still being on the historic register. And this picture window, it doesn't look good. It's the only picture window in the historic district. And
That's not actually true. There is another one on my street.
well, if it was done before the code was put into place, or before the historic district overlay, I don't know how old it is or which one it is.
I think I've included it in my photos. I sent Ryan my photos. I'm not sure, Ryan, if you can see a window that's not mine in the album that I sent you.
Let me take a look. Let me just take a guess. Hold on.
Yep.
That is like a pretty old window. I'm not sure how old it is, but it has some mullions on it to break it up. And I think, I don't know what the other board members feel, but something has to be done to break this window up. So
Well, if you look from the street view and you notice that it's split in half, each half is taller than it is wide. So it's two windows that are taller than they are wide, and they're also recessed into the porch. So it's not very easy to see. It's not like it's the first thing that jumps out at you when you look at the house.
Yeah, I think, I don't really agree with that. I think it's very obvious from the street when you walk by the house. I guess my question is how, maybe if we back up a little bit, how did we get here? How do we get to the point where the renovations, the alterations were made without permits or site plan approval?
I honestly didn't realize that I needed to get that. I have done much of the work on my house myself, and I just wasn't clear on what aspects of renovation needed a building permit and what didn't.
Well, it was noticed in one of Mr. Fenton's last act before his hiatus was to send in 2 violations. And that was one, working on there's clearly electrical wires hanging here and stuff, to do work without a building permit, and in violation of the historic district overlay, working on a historic building without coming to the planning board. The renovations have to be approved because it's in the historic district. And so he cited her for 2 violations. One, working on it without a building permit, and 2, making changes without coming to the planning board for historic preservation review. And so,
So is it true that no one is allowed to do any electrical work in their own house without a building permit?
yes, you have to get an inspection by the building department to make sure.
You,
it's done
you can't
correctly.
change a switch, you can't change a light fixture without coming to the building department?
Well, I guess a switch and a light fixture is one thing, but pulling wires and pulling circuits and stuff is.
I
supposed to
didn't
be
pull
done.
anything. It was just exposed because I re-sheet rocked. Which again, I didn't think you needed a building permit for. When I spoke with John Fenton, he came by and he said, someone had reported me and he came to check it out and that everything was fine. He told me word of mouth that everything was fine. And then he sent me a letter the next day. So I think that,
So I'm going to jump in here as the clerk. I think all that is in the past now. We need to address what's right now, what's going on right now. I think we have addressed why are we here and the reason sort of why Monica is presenting. So I think in moving forward, I think it would be best to address the issue with the windows and speak with the resident here to address how we resolve in order so she can get site plan approval.
We need,
So if
yeah,
the board is in agreement with that, I think we should move
Mhm.
on.
Yeah, that makes sense, I think.
we need to have something put on, like, some mullions or some wood thing put on the outside to give the illusion that it's smaller windows.
so like a wooden piece right down the middle would be enough to make you happy?
I think, yeah, I think I'm not sure that just putting a strip of wood over the front of the window would solve the issue. The window is not at all in character with the scale of the house and with all of the other windows. If you look at the other windows, you'll see that they're single over single. One option could be, for example, if you look at the roof there, you have a triple ganged window on your roof there. And that could be a solution, to put a double or a triple gang window. To be honest with you, when you look at the window, although it may be arithmetically correct that the height is slightly higher than the width if you divide it in half, it still looks pretty square. They still look pretty square.
No,
Also,
they're-
those are slider windows, which would never have been part of the original house here and are not common throughout the historic district. So they really are not in keeping at all with the house, and they really stand out drastically and dramatically, even from this thing, but when you walk down the sidewalk, more so.
Michael and James, what's your opinion?
The window does not fit with the house, but be honest with you, I don't think any of and I'm not going to say they're original windows. They're probably 70s remodeling. I mean, this house is basically, it's in the historic district. It's been remodeled by people who probably haven't had a lot of money, and they do whatever they can afford at the time, which is better. So I'm appreciative of the fact that somebody has come in here and tried to improve the house better than it was. It's not up to historic standards, but I don't think a lot of what we're looking at, I mean, the only thing that stands out to me that's being, more toward the historic would be the transom in the front door. Everything else is sort of kind of vernacular, this is what we could afford. So I understand when somebody's coming into a house and they're ignorant of the laws and they just think, oh, I found this place. I want to make it better and I want to make it mine. I'm appreciative of that because that's how I ended up being in Rhinebeck. Um, I don't want to make a big issue of that window, and I don't like it. I understand in a house with an overhang of that porch where you want to get light into the room.
It was
Um,
incredibly dark in that.
Yeah, working in construction, I would know that. Uh, that window in and of itself doesn't fit the historic standards for our district. That being said, it's in, John Clark wrote a letter that basically said if you put a good molded, not just a straight board, but a good sense of remolding an outside. It's fake, but to me, I would be okay with some kind of beaded, molded, 2 or 3, without having to basically remove and throw away a window that you've already bought. And you broke the law, and ignorance of the law is not an excuse, but we now have to deal with your mistake.
So Mike, is that a motion? Are you putting forth a motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion to
I'm unclear about what you mean by something molded.
Basically, the top of the window is one dimension. The sides are a much thinner dimension. Then you got on the inside of the window, it's a slider. You can see the little white band between, I guess, 2 individual panes that go left and right. Without taking the window out, a good carpenter would sit there and make, the right and the left side of the window being more the dimensions of the top, and then to figure out a way to basically attach something down the middle that has a bead on 2 edges, or put a bead, on all of the molding. It's just, basically we're trying to help you fix something that we never would have allowed that window in.
Right, and my opinion is that just because it was already done and it was, done by mistake, that's frankly no excuse. I mean, we have. Can I share my screen, Ryan? I've got a better view of it here from the. Am I going to be allowed to share? Let's see. Or do I have to be a co-host?
You can you share.
Okay, my share. Okay. All right, do you see this?
Yes.
Okay, so not only is the window the wrong window for any house in this district, the 2 windows look square. With all due respect, Michael, I can't imagine any type of framing that you would do over the window to kind of make it seem like a real double window. If you look at the top of the frame here,
Can't understand.
the trim around the window doesn't even match. It's a teeny tiny trim on the left and the right and the bottom, and a great big tall trim on the top. It really looks bad. What we're looking at right now, by the way, is the listing. This house is on the market right now. Monica, I assume you're the owner?
I am.
Okay. So my and I'll stop sharing now, but my opinion is it's a shame that this happened, but our responsibility is to keep the community in keeping with the codes that were made for these purposes. And I just can't imagine anything that could be done to that window to make it look appealing or not stick out like a sore thumb from the street. I don't even understand why the window is so low. It's so low compared to all of the other windows in the house.
Because the existing window was that low. I couldn't make it any higher because the window that had been there was there, and I couldn't.
Well, yeah, I think, sorry, but I think that's not true. You had a contractor come in and he had to frame out and put a new header above the window, didn't he? And that header could have been much higher. So the window, you could have put.
No,
a-
but I couldn't have raised it because I couldn't have replaced the siding.
I'm not sure if that's true.
It is true, but you can't find this siding anymore. It doesn't exist anymore.
Well, a good contractor could have made that appear like it was always there, to be honest. And by the way, your contractor should have known this was in the historic district.
Mr.
I
Mr.
think the
Chairman,
other
Mr.
piece that-
Chairman, I think we need to bring this conversation back down. Jeff, if you want to make a motion for your motion, whatever that might be, you can do that. I just like to make the board aware and the resident aware that if she disagrees with the determination by the planning board, she has the right to appeal your decision to the zoning board of appeals. And if they side with her to go
Mhm.
forth with the Mullings that board member Gee suggested, they can vote in that favor to do that, or they can go with whatever your motion is, Jeff, or they
Yeah.
can go with a totally different decision. So I just want to make everyone
So
aware
I think
of that.
Michael was making a suggestion that some kind of, fancy decorative mold, not the plain piece of wood, be put down the center of the two windows. I think Jeff would probably like to see it come out and a triple window to match the window above it go in, which would look more like,
Yeah, or to the side of it. If you look at the windows right around the right side of the house, there are windows that are of a consistent size and of the same elevation. And if you just brought that around to the front of the house and either put a double ganged or even a triple ganged window in that location at the same elevation that the other windows on the facade of the house are at, it would look completely natural and original. Now, those windows are probably not original, but it would look consistent with the rest of the house. So I'm not suggesting that all the windows in the house have to be replaced with 2/2 or 6/6. You have 1/1 windows, and that's the way it is. So my motion would be to put either a double or a triple ganged window consistent in size with the other existing windows on the right side of the house at the same elevation would be my motion.
so we
You're
have.
saying to actually demolish what's there and buy new windows and replace them? I don't have the finances to do that.
Well,
So just hold on. There's a motion, Chair.
my
There's
motion.
there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that. I agree. I think it's quite low. It's a little hard to imagine how you can sort of paper over I mean, maybe you can do it. I have less construction experience than Michael and probably most of the others on the board, but it does seem to me that it is out of place, and it's a little hard for me to imagine how you can sort of redo it without just making it look just a paste over kind of
All right, we have
situation.
a motion
All right.
and a second to replace the window with something like a triple window. And if the motion passes, then you have to appeal to the zoning board of appeals, which has the right to
Oh.
override the decision. We have a motion and a second. I'm going to have to call a vote on this. Michael Gee,
Are we on my motion or Jeff's motion?
Jeff.
Jeff has a
Jeff,
motion
Mike,
and a
Jeff.
second.
I mean, Michael got there first, and I guess nobody seconded.
Nobody seconded.
Nobody
So
seconded.
we're
We
we're
can
on
do,
Jeff's
Michael, if you want to, well, whatever order we want to go in. My motion, just to restate it and be clear, is that window replacement in the front should be similar and consistent with the windows that appear in the front and side, right side elevation of the house. Similar size and perspective, height to width, and elevation, so that they match.
I'd
And you
just
can
like to
do
make
the-
it clear that the window that was replaced was as low as that window. I did not lower the window.
Okay, well,
And it was a single
The same
window. It
yeah.
was a single
elevation.
window.
That's
And it
fine.
would
Or
come
you,
into us.
and my suggestion is not a specific, you could either put a double ganged window or a triple ganged window, meaning a ganged window is what appears in the dormer on your roof,
Right above it.
just above that. And it would be
That's not
consistent
a
with
triple
that.
ganged window. Those are 3 separate windows.
That's a
Right.
ganged window.
Right, the 3 windows put together into one frame.
Yeah, that's a ganged window.
So we have a motion and a second. Michael Gee, how do you vote?
I'm going to withdraw my original motion, and I've been swayed by Jeff's argument, so I'm going to vote with him.
Okay, James Davidson,
I will vote with, for the motion.
Jeff Christensen,
I vote with the motion.
David Miller, I vote with the motion too. The motion passes. You have the right. to
I'm
appeal
sorry,
to
what about
zoning
the
board
other
of-
people who are in this meeting? Did in
The
this
4 of us
meeting?
are the planning board. We're missing 1 member tonight who couldn't make it. But it was 4-0 that we would like to see the window replaced. So you can appeal, Brian can explain to you how to appeal to the zoning board of appeals.
We're very sorry that it had to come to this, Monica, but we're here to ensure that the neighborhood stays with the character that it has.
You mean
and
like
I'm-
the vinyl siding next door? Like, I don't
Well,
understand
no,
the
that would
arbitrary
okay,
nature.
the vinyl siding would never, ever be approved. The house across the, I live in the historic district. The house across the street from me has a garage that's forward of the house, which would also never be allowed now. The historic district overlay was created for a specific purpose, and we have to, as hard as this is, I'm very sorry, but as hard as this is, we have to respect that. Because you're selling this house, right? We're all going to be living here, right? This is our community. This is our homes. So that's why we deal with this degree of care, even though it may sometimes seem unpleasant. You know, and I'm sorry for that.
If you talk to Ryan, he will explain to you the appeal process to the zoning board of appeals, and maybe they would be agreeable to Michael's compromise. They're going to get the minutes of this meeting, what our discussion was, to understand it. And you can fill an application to the zoning board of appeals and appeal them and ask them to override this. All right, but sorry, but the motion has passed 4-0.
Unfortunate.
Yeah,
I'm a single mom and I've lived in the village for 14 years, and I've had to do much of the work on the house myself because I just haven't been able to afford to pay people to do it. I didn't realize that this was, that I was required to get a building permit, and I know that lack of knowledge of the law doesn't make it disappear, but it is distressing to me, and the reason that I'm selling the house is because I can't really afford to live in Rhinebeck anymore. So I just, it's unfortunate.
we're sorry too. Good luck with the zoning board of appeals.
Yep, thank you.
All right, James, I believe, is here.
So Ryan, I'm sorry, Ryan, do I just speak to you at a later date?
Yes, contact me tomorrow, Sequoia, and we'll go through the process and we'll go through basically what you'll need to provide to me to present to the zoning board of appeals, and we'll go
Okay.
from there.
All right,
This
thank
is
you,
this
Ryan.
isn't final. It's all within a process. So
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
The second, well, the first item on the agenda was Delio Properties, the Art of Building 7 South Street. And I think James is here.
Yeah.
James? Here he comes. All right, James, we did a walkthrough. I think Jeff, Michael, and I walked through last Saturday. And we looked at the whole building and all of the questions that we had about the renovations to the building. And I think we're all in agreement, Jeff and Michael, of the questions that we had. First question we had was the windows. The historic register says they're beautiful 6/6 windows, and there are 6/6 windows on the house, but apparently someone had removed the original historic 6/6 windows and put in these cheap vinyl windows with mulligans glued between the glass. And so we did not feel we had a problem replacing them with the Marvin simulated divided light windows. That was the first question. The second question we had was about the removal of a new structure. And as best we could determine by our walkthrough, that the 2 apartments added to the back of the building were added like in the 1980s. They're not part of the historic structure. I know you guys wanted to remove them to go back to the original historic structure. And we did not, I don't think either the 3 of us had a problem with that as well. And the garage, which is right up against the CVS parking lot, is again a modern structure, probably built the same time in the 80s, of cinder block. And you want to cover it with some clapboards to make it look a lot better, and put some new garage doors in there that look like barn doors. And it's way back from the street and can't really be seen much from the street. And so we didn't have a problem with that either. Am I being correct about all of that? Oh, you guys agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I don't think we had a problem with. We looked at the fence, and the problem with the church and the graveyard and people walking through as a pass through, parking on South Street, walking through your backyard to get through the hole in the fence to get to the CVS parking lot. And I guess I was thinking about it over the weekend, that when you put a fence up there, whether it be 6 feet or 8 feet, would people now begin to walk through the graveyard to get to CVS? Would be forcing them out of your backyard. They shouldn't be there in the first place. And so that was a question I had, whether you should be consulting the church and talk to them about that a little bit. And the second thing is, here's a picture of it, the middle picture. It's just hideous. And whether you want, I think you wanted to go for a variance, put an 8-foot fence back there. I don't think that's going to stop anything either. My suggestion is you put a fence up, be it 6 feet, or go for a variance, get an 8-foot fence, and that you plant something there, like fast-growing evergreens, like arborvitaes or something. And within a couple of years, looking out of your master bedroom window, you would not be able to see anything of CVS with these evergreens planted. Just a suggestion.
No, that's exactly what we're doing to the right of the garage. We've decided we're going to stick with a 6-foot fence because
I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter either. We thought about it, and then we've already bought a dozen very large evergreens that are going to be sort of stuffed in there. They're tall. I think they're about 12 or 15 feet. So
because Darren gave us a little tour of the inside of the house, and when the new building comes down, the cinder block wall will come down,
right,
and the master bedroom window is going to look at CVS parking lot.
Right.
So,
yeah. No. So we're going to plant a lot of new plants in the back of the property to really bring it to a much more natural state back there, and hopefully obscure CVS.
Completely. Yeah, that was my suggestion.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Did anybody else have any comments about this?
I think it's a nice project. I think getting rid of those apartments, which are obviously scabbed on at some point, we couldn't even find much paperwork on it, and I like it. I like everything about it. It's historically sensitive. I can't say enough good things about it. I can't wait to see it when it's done.
It's a beautiful restoration to a very important historic building right adjacent to the Reformed Church Cemetery, which is a very important cemetery with Revolutionary War veterans buried in it, and it'll be a beautiful building. And I think you're going to give some privacy to whether you guys in it or you sell it after it's renovated. The new owners will be appreciative of the new looking of the garage and the new privacy from CBS, which is quite a hideous backyard.
Right, it is.
And I like your design for the backyard.
Oh, thank you.
I agree with Michael and David from when we did our visit. That extension on the back, which isn't even really, it looks like it's attached to the house, but it isn't really. It's kind of a freestanding thing.
I know, we look through the second floor windows and you
Yes,
see you see cinder block,
that's
fire
right.
break between the new
This-
building and the
the cinder
historic.
block. So I agree as well. Like Michael said, I think this will be a really great improvement, especially you'll be able to look down that driveway and instead of seeing a cinder block garage, you'll see a clapboard garage with nicer doors. The whole thing will just be quite an improvement. And I
And
think
you
that
won't see CBS.
James et al. have done a great job planning this. I love seeing good projects like this in the village.
2 points of clarification. Just one, Ryan, just a reminder, the image that you were showing of the garage is not the updated one. If you remember, we had sent one
Right.
separately in an email.
Yes, where the overhang is not so extensive.
That's right.
It's just
So
over the door.
I just wanted to
yes.
be clear. I
Yep.
think it's less than is being proposed, so I don't think that would be a problem. And I just wanted to be clear that the implicit in one of our approvals here is that we're tearing down that wing, but we're adding that small tool shed, wood shed type structure, just to add some. So I just wanted to make sure that it's not only the ripping down of the big 1980s wing, but also the adding of that very small one that's embedded in this approval.
I think we saw that on the
Okay.
plans, and I don't think we had a problem with that. It's a very tiny addition to the back, taking off that big giant structure. No, it's a beautiful design, and you're going to really bring a very, very important historic building back to life, which will be great.
Yeah, that's the plan.
I agree. I appreciated Jeff's report, and sorry I couldn't make it, but yeah, I agree with what everybody said.
Great. Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the site plan for the Art Building 7 South Street?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Beat me to it, Michael. I'll second that.
Okay.
Can we just have a breakdown of the different aspects? So the planned addition, the renovation of the garage, the roof, just so we're just really specific.
For the minutes, okay. So what the alterations will be is the inexpensive windows on the front of the building and the sides of the building will be changed to Marvin simulated divided light new windows. That the 1980s apartments, 2 apartments added to the back, it has to be removed and be replaced by a small, I think it was going to be a laundry room, mud room,
Yes.
whatever in the back of the house. That the 1980s cinder block garage will be covered with clapboards to look more like that belongs to the house. And it'll have new historic looking garage doors. And there'll be a fence, a brand new fence across the backyard with some plantings above it to block the view and access to CVS parking lot.
And I think, Mr. Chairman, I guess John mentioned in the prior meeting that including the fence in the approval to confirm that it wouldn't come further forward than the front plane of the house. Is that correct?
I think he said it was only going up to the front of the garage.
Okay, and that's shown on the site plan?
No, it's on the site plan, to be clear.
Okay.
It's not in front of the face of, it's going along the side.
Yeah.
of the house and is stopping before the front plane of the house.
Yeah.
It's going to
And-
go along the cemetery.
And it should be represented on the site plan that you have.
Okay. Right. And those replacement windows, which Chairman Miller mentioned also, I would just note for the record that they will have exterior muntins, correct?
Simulated divided lights
Yes.
Okay.
at the moment. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, 2/2.
Mhm.
And it'll be a 6-foot fence. We're not going to go for
It's
variance.
gonna, right, we've decided not to go for the variance.
Okay. I think that's.
Just
it.
need the eyes.
Okay, Michael Gee,
Aye.
James Davidson,
Aye.
Jeff Christensen,
Aye.
David Miller, aye.
4 to
Good luck,
0.
guys.
Great. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank
Okay.
you, James.
No.
All right now. Have a good night.
Good night.
All right, the next item on the agenda is Church of the Messiah, a subdivision. Dividing the property into 3 lots. Have, Reverend McKeon here. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for making time.
And so you're taking the big lot and dividing it in that the dry cleaner will be 8,160 square feet. The parish house, or the building that's was used as the parish house, will be 10,962 square feet. And the entire rest of the property, the church, the parish hall, the parking lot, consists of 70,392 square feet will be lot number 3. So everybody got the I think Brian sent out a new revised plan with a little more drawings on it, the churches on it.
Marie, if you want to share your screen, you can share whenever
Unfortunately,
you're ready.
I do not have the drawing on my screen. I thought you put it up on your screen. So that's
Oh,
why
hold on.
I would have to be on a different computer
Yeah.
that doesn't have a microphone or a camera.
I was just looking at it a minute ago. I could bring it up if you want.
Yeah, I have it handy as well if you want me to bring it up, Ryan.
There it is.
Okay. It's probably best seen in the upper right-hand corner, which actually shows what it looks like.
Uh-huh.
Lot 1, lot 2, and the dots are everything else, which is the 70,000 square foot remaining lot number 3. So can you zoom in on the plans a little bit around the building? Yeah, move to the right now and move it.
The other way.
Now come up a
No, you're
little
right.
bit, and there's a sentence I'm confused about. Go up a little bit. Okay, it says
Required septic.
reputed septic system. Where reputed septic system for the church or for
Yes.
the building?
No, it's for
Which
the
side of
church.
line is it? Huh?
It's for the church, which is why it's on the 70,392 square foot parcel.
So it's outside of, doesn't belong, and so does the 2-story dwelling on Chestnut Street have a septic system?
I was told that it has a septic system behind the house. I have really no way to confirm that, but that would make sense to me that the house had its own septic system.
I just.
Some of these lots are on the village system. I was kind of hoping they were, but they don't seem to be.
This is not in the sewer district, so all of these buildings have to have septic systems, and I think before we would approve anything, we need to know where all the septics, because you got at least 4 buildings. You got a dry cleaner, a church, a house, and a parish hall, and they all have to have septic systems, and they're not indicated except for this presumed one.
So you
on the
think the septic system for the church is on church land still, and that the dwelling has some septic system, and there has to be a septic system or something. It's a dry cleaner. They must dump chemicals or something somewhere.
No, I was told they don't use chemicals anymore. They use
Okay.
water-based solvents.
If they got to have a bathroom for the people
Yes.
who work there all day long.
That's
Right.
true. And they do have water-based solvent, so they do have some sort of a septic. But I'm just saying, there are no chemicals being dumped.
Yeah,
And if Parish Hall has a septic system, it would still be on
It has two.
church property.
It has two.
Yeah, okay. So the question we have is when you break off lot 1 and lot 2, are the septic systems not on church land anymore? We need to
Yes.
make sure.
Yes, so what we'll do is we're in the process of evaluating the size of the septic tank for the rectory, which is lot 2. And we can give a report on what the septic is for lot 1. But we're in the process of identifying precisely where the tank is and the size. So it has its own septic system, but we can certainly get the details for that for you.
Right, I have no problem personally with breaking it up into 3 lots. I just want to make sure that we don't have a septic system on somebody else's land.
Sure.
That's true. And the
Would be a
health department would
problem.
know for that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm sorry, Mr. McKeon. The last point you were making about the septic system was for which of the buildings? Was it for the
Well,
dry cleaner?
Right, where we can actually have, I think, and Nancy, if you could come on off mic now, there'd be no problem with us determining where the septic is for
No.
lot 1.
No, we can locate that. There's no records of exactly where it is. What we can do is get a company in there to track it and find it. On lot 2, it's directly out the south, the south side of the building in the lot. We just had that tracked maybe 2 weeks
Okay.
ago to make sure. So it's right, Ryan, about over more on going east. Yeah, and it's on its own lot. The presumed one serves only the church. There are 2 that serve the parish hall. And what we need to do is locate the one on lot 1.
Okay. Just to make sure that we don't, get into trouble down the line with having somebody, somebody purchases the house or somebody purchases the dry cleaner. I assume that's why you're doing subdivision, so it's a possibility to sell one of those properties. We don't want someone to come and do a building inspection and say, the septic system for the dry cleaner is right in front of Parish Hall, and I can't buy this house because that doesn't work. So we have to make sure that this is all, correctly laid out.
Sure.
But I don't think there's any of the board members have any other questions about this.
I have a question, but looking at this, the next door, now or formerly Lucy Wilson wood frame garage, from what I'm looking at, it appears like their garage is protruding into lot 2, at least on one corner. I mean,
No,
it's,
actually, the property line follows the garage. The garage has been there long enough to establish its own boundary. When all the seminars that I go to these days say that if you have something like this garage and it's been there forever, even though the old deed may have been a straight line because the garage is there, the garage is in their ownership. And so therefore that you have an L1 that goes westerly from the property line to the corner of the garage. L2 goes to the back corner of the garage. L3 goes back to the original lot line, and then L4 goes to the corner that we created for this lot. But the garage is on Wilson's property.
So the old adage, possession is 9/10 of the law. If it's been there, it's there, and we
That's
have
everything.
to deal with it.
It's a
So
little
Chair,
contrary to what I used to learn, but
Yeah.
So
we
this-
just need to schedule the public hearing.
I just have a question. Do the boundaries of these proposed subdivisions put any of these properties into non-compliance according to the setbacks that would be applied to a lot?
there's a table at the top left corner of the drawing.
Very small.
You need 4,000 square feet. Both of these lots are over 4,000.
Okay.
Minimum frontage is 40 feet. We've got 104 and 100 feet. Some of your setbacks, like you have minimum front yard setback 0. We have 31 and 45. And the maximum front yard setback is 25. We have 31 and 45. So the maximum they're a little bit back from the maximum front yard but they are where they are.
Ah, okay, because this is in the SSO, the village center.
Yeah.
Setbacks apply, the 0 setback on the, okay.
On the front
So-
and side yard.
So there's no side yard thing. Michael, you mentioned before, you're pretty knowledgeable about where the sewage goes. Does the village sewer line come near up to where the dry
It's a-
cleaners is?
It's across the street, behind the houses across the street, and I'm not sure they're hooked up to them. Pretty sure they're not. It's basically was created for the business district, Village Green, the hospital.
It's not
Okay.
on septic.
I called the sewer department about 2 weeks ago to see if it would be possible for our buildings to be hooked up to the sewer system, which would be wonderful. They
Mhm.
told me no, that the system was pretty much at or slightly beyond capacity, and that only, the existing buildings that were connected would be allowed to be part of the system, so that we could not be. So none of our buildings are connected, even though Dutchess Access, Parcel Access said they were. They aren't, and the sewer department is going to correct the information on Parcel Access.
Besides, you would have to dig a trench across Route 9.
Tunnel under.
And then go through somebody's private property to get to it.
No,
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
go right down West Chestnut Street. I would think you could go from Chestnut Street under Route 9 and down West Chestnut Street until you got to the sewer line, if they would allow it. But they're not
Well,
gonna allow it. It would
We
be an
had a money
expensive-
tree too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it would be an
Sounds-
expensive project.
Sounds like a
Very
moot point anyway. And the parking that is to the south of the dry cleaner, does that have its own entrance, or are they gonna have to enter through remaining?
There's a right of way over that 25-foot strip that comes in on the south side of them. It would have to be. They do
Okay.
have their own entrance on the north side where there's that macadam parking, but most of the people that come to the dry cleaner come in from the south, and they will
Yes,
granted a right of way over the lands of the Church of the Messiah.
okay, so that would be part of the subdivision, that right of way would be preserved for the use of this subdivided property.
It's actually being created for the use of the subdivided property. It's not there now. I
Okay,
probably should have said proposed right of way, but it,
all right, yeah, that would be helpful.
excuse me.
So we have to have a public hearing, see if any members of the public object to this, which would be the first of beginning of April. What day is that, Ryan?
April 6th.
Okay, our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 6th. We can schedule a public hearing if nobody objects. I don't see a problem going forward with this on April 6th. unless
We
anyone
need a
feels-
motion, Chair.
All right, so we'll make a motion to have a public hearing scheduled on April 6th. For this church
Need somebody?
subdivision.
Second?
All those in favor? Michael Gee,
Aye.
Jeff Christensen,
Aye.
James Davidson,
Aye.
David Miller, aye. So, clear up any questions you might have, because the public might, if the public comes, sometimes nobody comes, sometimes people
You
might
have
care.
to be ready. Yep.
You have to be ready to answer any questions or have, lines going all around so they can clearly see it. And as I said, the thing in the upper right-hand corner really shows you lot 1, lot 2, and the dots of the rest of it. If this map could be drawn to show lot 3 in its entirety in a different color, that might be clear to people looking at it. Sort of fill in the dots, so to speak.
On the body of the map, you mean, or on the,
Yeah, on the body,
Area.
because the little inset on the top shows you exactly what's happening. But then
Right.
there's, like when you come in, there's a red line that dies, and there's no
that's
line
the edge of
around
macadam.
Parish Hall. Sort of like outline the 70,000 square foot property and call it Lot 3.
Okay.
So it'll be clear to everybody what's being done. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask why you're subdividing it?
Yes, we're contemplating selling the rectory on Chestnut Street. And we actually also believe that the property was never subdivided for purposes of taxes or evaluation, so we just need to do it anyway. Should have been done. But sometimes things happen in a village that aren't necessarily all brought up to date. So I guess the Astors said they wanted it, and they put it. So, but it's the rectory that we're considering selling.
Well, but that's good for the village to bring it back on the tax rolls.
It's been on the tax rolls because
Oh, it
it's
is.
been rented. So,
Okay.
yep.
I have a concern about the sidewalks on Route 9 from the main entrance going into the front door of the church and going south. It seems like maybe the construction that was done there has kind of cracked some of the sidewalks, and then the sidewalk in front of the dry cleaners just pitted. And
Sure. So our plan is we did, if you'll remember, we replaced all of the sidewalk on the Chestnut Street side
right, looks
with
nice.
historic bluestone, and looks great. We asked the Frost Foundation if they would help us do the front sidewalk, and they didn't see it as a priority. We will be repairing the sidewalk as part of our grounds when we finish the renovation of the church this summer. So we recognize, and we've been putting off until we complete all the other work, that we'll need to do some restoration work on the sidewalks as well.
Okay.
We'd love to put bluestone in, but that's going to be probably another $30,000 or $40,000 to do that. So, but we'll take a donation from anybody more than like to. We're only too happy to restore it.
All righty. So we'll see you guys on April 6th.
Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Do you set the public hearing at a certain time or just?
You'll be the
It'll be the
on
first
agenda.
item on the agenda, Marie.
Yes,
I
at
will
7
circulate
o'clock.
that, and we do the notification of
Very
the
good, thank
neighbors.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night. Thank you.
Good night.
Next item on the agenda is Lydia Slavy, 25 Mulberry Street, some site plan renovations and area variance requests.
Hi, team. How are you?
Good.
All righty.
Good. So, what would be easiest if I just like throw some images, if I screen share and then and walk you through the story?
Yeah,
Yes.
you have many images. We're probably going to want to come in the next week or two to do a
That's
walk
fine.
around like we did with James on 7
Yep.
South Street to really
Yep.
visualize what you're doing.
Yep, that's totally fine.
So
So
There
let
were
me.
dozens of pictures that I didn't print out, so I printed out some of them.
Yep. No, you don't need all of them. Let me start at the beginning. So share. And my husband apologizes that he couldn't make it. He had an event that started at 8. Okay, so can everybody see this site plan?
Yes.
All right, so this is the existing property. There is an 1883, just about, historic home in the historic district that had. I'll show you pictures in a minute, but this is a inappropriate addition that was done without a permit. We are assuming sometime in the 70s or 80s. This garage here was also built without a permit. It's in the wrong spot for the site. You can't actually get a car into it because the angle is too tight, and it does an excellent job of taking up a great deal of space right in the middle of the garden. So it makes it difficult to enjoy the full use of the property. In addition, the back half of the original home, regardless of this inappropriate addition here, the back half of the original home must have been built for whatever purpose, but it is approximately 7-foot ceilings on both the first and the second floor, which creates a really interesting problem when you're going from on the second floor, when you're going from the front half of the house to the back half of the house, that I'll show you an amusing picture of when we get there. So this is the house. It's the yellow one on Mulberry Street. This is the front. Someone put up this huge fence at some point, which we don't like. This here is the beginning of the inappropriate addition. This here is the garage, which is not remotely in context historically. This is the back half of the house. You can see this sort of single wide that was popped on there. They did a nice job with some of the detailing, but otherwise. And then here's the back of the house. You can sort of see from far away how the ceiling heights just drop dramatically, which my husband is 6'2". So when you're on the second floor, this is what happens when you're going from the front half of the house to the back half. You know, and I thought about marrying someone shorter, but it didn't seem worth it. So so those are sort of the main problems with the house, was the height of the back half of the house and then the inappropriate location of the garage. And so what we want to do, and this is the proposed site plan, what we would like to do is take down the garage. There's a little gazebo here that's kind of falling apart. And we would like to build a barn that is in the vernacular of the historic time back here. That would also, be a 2-car garage and a breezeway and a little shed. And I have drawings of that. In addition, the house, we'd basically like to take down the back half of the house and then build a new one. The front half of the house is a beautiful example of the Victorian era. There's some really beautifully shaped rooms in the front half of the house, and we're basically taking that, adding an elbow joint, and then flipping it basically, but just making it a little bit smaller so that it's clear that this is a new addition, although we want to remain appropriate to the time, but we're making it a little bit simpler, a little bit smaller, so that you can see where the original house is versus the addition. We are asking for a variance back here for the garage, and you'll see why when you look at the neighboring properties. So here we are right here, and unfortunately, actually, the Duval Rubensteins have a garage here that's not on the map, but there's a barn here that is right on top of our property line, and there's a garage here that is also right on top of our property line. And so what we wanted to do was sort of bring our garage into that little cluster of buildings so that landscape was easy to manage and the cluster of buildings remained sort of what they are, instead of creating a great deal of space between these sort of necessary outbuildings. This is a vertical shot that you can see their garage right here, as well as the barn here. So we would basically put the new garage right back here. This is what the house would look like. So I've put all of these elevations on the same page, so I can zoom in if you'd like to see it. But the only thing that we would do to the front of the house is replace the single door with an out of context side window with the more historically appropriate double door. And otherwise we would leave the front half of the house exactly as it stands. What you see here is a porte cochere that's attached to the back half of the house on the north side that does leak into the setback by 5 feet. And we're not totally clear whether or not we need a variance for that. So I'll leave that up to you. So this is the front house, front part of the house. Here is the view from the south. You can see here's all of the historic nature of the home with the shutters and all of the very detailed doodads. I'm sure there's an appropriate name for them other than doodads. And then here you can see that we're making the back half of the house a little bit shorter, but otherwise we're duplicating this lovely bay window area, but we're just making it a little bit simpler. In deference of the beauty of the original. We wanted to reflect it, but we didn't want to actually duplicate it. Here's the north side with the porte cochere right here. A side door that we can hop in when it's raining with groceries. A little side door here to get out into the back garden. And then here really for the back half of for the back part of the house is really sort of the beauty of it. Right now, the existing home has one small door that leads out to the back garden. It divides the house from the garden in a really unfortunate way. And so here we would have two sets of French doors, an outdoor fireplace, an appropriately sort of half hidden chimney for the era. And, you know, and this way the garden merges more with the home, which we would very much like. So these are the ideas for the home. And then the garage sort of in the back, it's a little bit, here, I'll show you the picture first. So this is what it would look like from the house, the garage here. And then we actually would put in a breezeway here. We don't want that contained. We want to use it actually as an outdoor space, and then a little shed here. The upper story would be used as a gym, and then my husband's office. It is at the moment, you know, we have no plans to actually even put a toilet in this building, and so as I'm sure you can imagine, there's no way that we can sneak a mother-in-law or anything into it. We just want it for a gym and a home office, and then the 2-car garage and a breezeway, and then sort of a garden shed. This is what it looks like from the east, from Rick and Lisa's house. You know, staircase, this is not the part that we're going to be looking out on. In fact, it just looks out on their garage. And then from the north and the south. And that is all.
It's a lot, and there are a lot of questions. I think, you know,
Yep.
we don't have a zoning enforcement officer. It's going to have to be run past Michelle, I guess, to ask some
Yep.
questions about this. And John Clark couldn't be here tonight. I believe that the portiere, my French isn't that good, is 5 feet
You know,
from the property
carports.
line.
Or-
And the code says, you know, that playhouses, greenhouses, tool sheds, garden sheds, other similar structures not exceeding 144 square feet. I don't know how big or whether it doesn't have walls count, but those can be 5 feet from the rear structure, as well as a garage not exceeding 530 square feet. And your garage is massive, so that doesn't apply to the garage. But
No.
I'd have to get a ruling on 5 feet for the carport. I'm sorry not to use French, but
No, that's okay.
5 feet, but the 5 feet is kosher for that. And then you have the entire large garage is all 5 feet from the back. That's going to have to go to the ZBA.
Yep.
That's guaranteed. And I have to say, I know they're going to say, well, why do you have to do that? Why can't it be 5 feet forward? You know, why can't it be 10 feet from the property line? But that's a
Right.
question for them to ask.
Yep.
And then the question that I have is, we have a historic demolition law. Now, what we did with South Street, or 7 South Street, they were taking off a junky 1980s cinder block kind of building and removing it. And you said part of that building, which is why we have to have a walkthrough, is, you know, a modern kind of thing that you want to remove. But then you
Right.
said this small thing that's too small is old.
Well, it is. We don't know if it's original to the 1883 structure, but you know, we've had a few architects, obviously, and we've been working with an architect for this. We've had a few architects look at it, and they don't think it can be any younger than sort of 1910, 1920.
I know. And so the historic preservation law has a historic demolition law, which,
Yep.
you know, any all or partial removal of a historic structure has to go through justification, public hearing, and stuff as to why it wants to remove. So we would have a demolition public hearing. This is why we have to get, we need to do a walkthrough, and we need Michelle to talk about all of this, because
Yep.
we have the carport the garage, which is 5 feet, which is a definite, the carport maybe not, and the demolition of the newer building by the demolition of the older building would have to go through a demolition permit public hearing on the planning board side. Nothing to do with the ZBA. So a lot of questions about this.
Yep.
Also, I think, Chair, too, if you look at that section of the code that you just read about accessory structures in the residential district, note number 2 should be reviewed as well.
The combined footprint of the buildings. Now, because there's a building over the breezeway, all that has to be added in. I'm not sure whether the pool gets added in or not. I know the driveways don't get added in. Not having a ZBA here tonight, a ZEO here tonight, to do the calculation and make sure that the accessory buildings do not exceed 75 square foot of the principal structure. 75% of the principal structure. We have to verify that.
That number, why isn't this working? I don't know why this is not pulling up. What do you all see? Do you see this chart?
The chart,
There,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, great.
Garage, barn, shed.
So the lot coverage here, that did a bad job of highlighting what I wanted to just highlight. But we go from 14.5% to 20.3.
So that's okay, I'm sorry, Lydia. But
Yeah.
what basically that section of the code is referring to is the combined square footage of the proposed garage, breezeway, and shed. Is that
Okay.
more than 75% of the total square footage of your existing house?
Right, that's what we have to determine.
No, the existing house is
2935.
2935, and the total enclosed area for the new garage is 1348, which is less than half.
Okay, so you would have to add the 1348 to the, so wait a minute. So the
Breezeway
1348,
might count too, Ryan, and the shed.
so is the 1348 when you add the garage, breezeway, and shed together, Lydia?
The 1348 is the garage, shed, and second floor.
Okay, the breezeway is gonna have to be considered because it's a covered structure.
Okay, all right. So that brings it up to a little over 1,800, which is still less than 75% of
Right.
2935.
And then,
Ryan,
wait a minute.
I want Michelle to do this calculation.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
too.
do
Yeah.
this calculation. Hold on here.
Yeah, no
Um,
worries. I figured this was the beginning of a long conversation.
So wait a minute.
It is.
But we might, so the other thing that has to be determined too is it, because you'll also be changing the square footage for the house. And
Right,
you're
so
gonna be
the
going
house
to
is
a
actually-
higher,
Yeah.
all right,
The house is
so,
going up to that.
So do we do that count? Again, question for Michelle. Is 4613 the number that we're gonna be comparing? Is this post
I think
construction?
so.
So it'd be 4,600 is way beyond any kind of number you could come up in the column below.
Right, so I did
Oh, yeah.
75% of 4613 and I came up with 3,459.
So you're nowhere near that.
So, right, so
Right,
you're,
So
right.
we need, we can make
we'll
a
get
recommendation.
clarification.
On April 6th, we can make a recommendation to the ZBA about this, but we have to clarify. I want to know from the zoning enforcement officer, if 5 feet is okay for the portiere, definitely they have to go for a variance for the 5-foot setback. Those are the two variance things. We need to know about the historic preservation law, about we have to have a demolition permit, a public hearing to demolish the low ceilinged original part of the building. And then I want Michelle to verify the calculation, the post-construction calculation, 4613 versus whatever numbers get added up. Covered breezeway probably counts, the shed, second floor, the garage, etc. And is that total, it should be way below 4613.
Well, the garage listed here says 160 square feet. It can't be that. A 2-car garage would be closer to 400 or 500 square feet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have done that math wrong. It's funny, when I was doing that math, I was like, that doesn't sound right at all. And yet I just put it in.
I would say the garage is probably close to the same size as the breezeway.
I'd say you're probably right.
Or at
The
least
number I
half
was
of the-
using was,
half of the
Yeah.
second floor, like 550 or something like that. I don't know. We got to get these numbers correct, and Michelle's got to, so I want Michelle to rule on the portiere, definitely a variance on the whole garage structure, the square footage calculation, comparison 75%, not lot coverage, and whether we need to go ahead, which I think we do. And that's why we have this walkthrough. With the boys, we approved them on 7 South Street, knocking down a 1980s cinder block kind of ugly new structure that was glued on the back of the building, literally. This now, the very fairly new part of it you want to knock over is probably fine once we have a walkthrough. But the original low ceiling part is going to be a question that she has to answer, and we're probably going to have to do something about a demolition permit.
okay. All right.
Does the Historical Society have any records of this house on
No,
Mulberry Street?
the best record that I've been able to find, and I've worked with Mike Frazier on this a lot, to be perfectly honest, is that original, remember that beautiful map? Oh, and I have a picture of it somewhere on my computer, but the beautiful map that shows the elevations of all of the homes in Rhinebeck. I could find it in like 3 minutes, but it's from I think it's from 1890. I forget who did it. But it shows all of the elevations of all of the buildings. And that is the best map that we have. It shows our house. It does not show this house because this home owned sort of all of this at one point, and then it was subdivided. It shows this, and then it shows this guy, and then it shows this barn. And it does show that the house is larger than like this, but in not a particularly clear way. It kind of looks like there was a huge addition over here to the north at one point. And it's not very clear on what it looks like to the back, to the east. And so that's the best we've been able to do with the Historic Society.
We have
to be honest.
we have the Sanborn maps that Brian Plummer wrote the book on the Beekman Arms got for us, and he downloaded them, so Mike and I have copies of them. And I think it's like 1880, 1890, 1895, 1910, 1920, and then
Yep.
we did this with 7 South Street, trying to figure out what maps, what was there and what was not there. 7 South
Right.
Street was all greenhouses in 1900.
That's amazing.
But to try to look at some of the old maps, I could try to do a little research on that and look up. Did Mike show you the Sanborn maps?
I'm sure he did. I
Sanborn
don't know which ones.
All right.
I don't recognize them by name, but yeah, no, we had a wonderful conversation and we looked at all the maps. It was great fun. But unfortunately, we couldn't see quite what this house really looked like back in the day. And frankly, given the interior layout of it, having a larger sort of wing to the north would make sense. I do hope for the sake of the house that wasn't actually true, because that would be terrible if it was torn down at some point. But yeah, so there we are.
All right, so we'll meet again on the 6th. This is why I wanted you to come tonight to get started.
Yeah.
And I think Ryan has a lot of questions for Michelle, and we'll schedule a walkthrough. I do not know when Tom Clark is violating all the laws, and he went to go visit his grandchildren after he got his second shot. And I don't know if he's coming back this weekend, but I'd like John to be able to do the walkthrough with us. So
Okay.
we'll find out what John Clark is doing, and then we'll communicate by email when we can all get together and take a walkthrough the backyard, so we
Okay.
can visualize all of this, because it helped tremendously with 7 South Street, physically standing there to see what it's going to look like.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, and you're more than welcome to come. It's a beautiful home. It's just, it's had a pile of owners in the last 100 years, and each one of those owners has done a little bit of something, and so it has now completely lost all of its interior integrity. And then just the fact that my husband is taller than 5'6" is making life complicated for the back half of the house. But
No, I bought my house because the second floor had 8-foot ceilings. I said, I haven't been in one of these. I'll take it. I'm not spending the rest of my life stooped over.
exactly.
Oh, I fully understand that.
So yeah, so it's a beautiful home. We just want to really make it sort of help it come into its own a little bit for the 21st century.
All right.
Um,
All right. So we'll get together. I'll have Ryan try to write to John Clark and find out when he's back. And then we'll see when
Okay.
we can all get together to have a walkthrough on a Saturday, maybe if not this Saturday, next Saturday. And then we'll go again on the 6th. And then we'll get some response from Michelle as well. Clarifying this. She's our acting CEO.
okay. All right. No
Okay.
problem. Okay. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the last item, which is a late ad, was a Smoky Rock. Wants to, a Smoky Rock here, Ryan?
Yes, Christiana?
As I understand it, if you can turn on her mic, all they're doing is changing the image on the existing sign. Christiana, can you turn on your mic? Are you still here?
Hopefully, I mean, she's here. She's on her iPhone. So hopefully, oh, we have some
Oh,
life.
Something moved. Yeah,
I think she's trying.
all right, see if she tries.
Looking for the unmute button.
I can't get myself unmuted. Can you unmute her?
I can't. I can only ask to unmute.
right.
I can't.
Can you turn on your camera? You don't have the power to unmute her. She has to unmute herself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, lower left.
The lower left-hand corner is a little microphone,
Yeah.
and there's a video next to it too. It won't allow me to. I don't know.
I don't, yeah.
There's a way
Yeah.
to provide for that, but the host has to do it in the settings and the
Hold on.
attendee has to agree.
She is having trouble unmuting. She can hear us.
Just a second, she said.
Just a second. Oh, yes, uh-huh. We should get a little pulled pork and sit down for a minute.
This is not a virtual meeting. We could have had some barbecue.
Zoom is always tricky on the iPhone for some reason.
Do you have, Ryan, do you have an audio, a phone dial-in number that you
Yes,
can
I
dial in
did.
for audio?
I did provide that.
Okay.
It's part of the link.
Because if she had that, she could just dial in and we wouldn't see the camera, but we would be able to hear her.
She's saying I will call in.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Oh, there you go.
So the issue here is simple. They're just changing the sign. I mean, the words
They're
on the
just
sign.
changing the
Nothing is changing
logo.
whatsoever. Just changing
The
the
size
logo.
isn't changing.
I don't remember if there's a chicken and a cow and everything on the original logo, but there's a little map, Rhinebeck. So you have the two pictures. They're just changing their logo
Right.
for Smoky Rock. So I don't have a problem with this. We just needed to hear from her.
Those images look very very white. Is their current sign very white? One of the
No,
things
their
it's
current
yellow.
sign is yellow, and the color is going to remain yellow. They just want to change the logo.
That's good.
And I'm waiting for her to call in here.
Well, I mean, we're not doing anything major. If I don't want her to be held up on a technicality because of.
We just,
Zoom.
well, we just have to make sure that it's on the record, David, that she was here. Let me see.
Trying to connect via laptop.
Okay.
Okay.
We're getting all the devices here.
I think we're gonna be on Zoom for quite a while. I don't know when things will get back to normal. Ryan, is Village Hall still closed to the public?
Yes, in some respects. I mean, today we had the election.
Right.
Oh,
Oh,
looks like-
she's unmuted.
Hi.
looks-
Oh,
Hi.
goodness. The magic of technology. Good evening.
I'm so sorry. I've
That's
been
okay.
on this whole time, and I would have had it from the laptop. I realized it wasn't going to work with the audio from the phone, but
So nothing is changing except the logo.
yes.
And it's
So
not going to be white, right? It's going to be
No.
yellow.
it's going to be yellow. It's going to be the same color that we have now, and it's the same size as well. The only thing that changed is the logo, and only a couple things.
Okay.
So we're going with the first one that you see here without just the logo itself. So we're not going to do the one that has the big thick lettering.
Okay. So, does anybody have any questions about this?
And it's exactly the same size as the current sign, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Seems straightforward to me.
We just need to hear from her, guaranteeing it's not going to be white on black, and black on white. Any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the change of the sign for
I'll
smoking?
make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
One last thing, Christina, when it's done, would you please take a picture of it and get a picture to Ryan for the file? So we have the updated picture of the sign.
Absolutely, no problem.
Okay, all those in favor, Michael Gee,
Aye.
James Davidson,
Aye.
Jeff Christensen,
Aye.
David Miller, aye. Okay, sorry, we just had to have you here to say yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christiana.
So anybody have any other comments about anything that's going on?
A question for Michael. Michael, you made an observation at a meeting that someone had changed their sidewalk and put in a 3-foot instead of a 4-foot sidewalk, which I thought was a pretty detailed observation. You're really paying attention.
I
So-
walk every day.
It's a village every day.
So I'm walking, I walk the dog every day. I'm coming down Market Street, East Market Street, heading east toward the corner of Mulberry. The last house on the south side, the last of the Four Sisters,
Yeah.
they 88 Market. It looks like they pulled out a couple of sections of the bluestone sidewalk and put like
Brick
some kind of
pavers.
No, it's like gravel. It's like powdery gravel. It's
Oh, the
almost
other
like-
side. Okay, yeah, no, that's Spiro. He's a
Okay.
mason. And I think, you never know, I think he's probably in the middle of fixing it because this bluestone was really, really bad.
Yeah, yeah.
I've tripped a couple of times. My wife has fallen. And it looked, he had his masonry saw out there a couple days ago. I'm assuming he's
Okay.
cutting and fixing it, but
Okay,
you
well,
never
that'll
know.
be good, because I mean that the gravel there has got so much like dust in it that I end up stepping onto the lawn to walk past it, so I don't get so I don't track all the dust into my house. I was wondering if whoever that was thought that was
Well,
an
Spiro
acceptable.
knows the rules.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Makes it correct.
That's good to hear. I was sorry that Monica will have to go to the trouble to do that, but that honestly, that window was pretty far. Now, a question I have there is, she put the house on the market. She's selling the house.
Yes, I saw it.
Can she do that if it's not in compliance? Is
Yes.
there any?
There's
She can.
no law forbidding her to not sell it. The situation is the new owner, when they purchase it and they want to do something, the violation carries over to the new owner.
Okay, all right. So the new owner can't say, well, I purchased it as is, so there's nothing you can do
Correct.
about it. Okay.
Violations
Well-
hasn't been cleared up yet.
When you say when the new owner wants to do something with it, if the new owner doesn't want to do anything with it, it just,
It stays. And then, then probably we would have to get sort of a determination from the ZEO, because right now, the planning board's approval is only good for 18 months. So, if the current owner or a new owner does not pull a building permit or satisfies the approval in 18 months, then we go back to 0, where a new violation letter is sent out and we start all over again.
So is it typical that the real estate brokers who are in town would know this, would know that there's a violation outstanding?
No.
When the title company does a title search,
That usually, but planning board decisions don't come up on title searches.
but yeah, but
David.
not planning board decisions, there's Fenton sent in a violation letter. Where does that go?
So technically right now, she has done something about it. So she has satisfied the violation letter by coming to you guys and getting an approval, or not an approval, but a determination by you. Therefore, she satisfied the violation letter because she has acted. Now, if she didn't do anything, she, did not do her due diligence in filling out an application and did what she did, then there would be another violation letter or potentially a court appearance ticket. So it all depends on how the law is writ, what's in the law.
So her next step, and she said she would contact you about going to the zoning
Yeah,
board of
she has a
adjustment.
right to appeal to the zoning board of appeals for their interpretation.
And if she doesn't?
Your determination. If she doesn't, then she has 18 months to decide what she wants to do, whether she wants to go along with your determination or she does not.
So she can sell the house. The buyer won't, the real estate brokers won't know, the buyer won't know, it won't turn up in and then the buyer 18 months from now, or 16 months after they buy the house, they're going to get a letter that they're in violation.
Very possible, yes.
Are you sure that wouldn't appear in a title search?
It just doesn't seem to make sense to me.
If there's a violation from the building department,
But it's not. But it's not a violation of the building code. It's a violation of the zoning code.
But she got 2 violations, one doing a renovation without a permit, and one renovating a historic structure without coming to the planning board.
It's not a renovation of an historic structure. It's an alteration. What she did is she altered the window from a smaller one to a bigger one.
I don't know. I mean, you could ask Michelle about that
Yeah.
too. You could get some answers from her.
This is all how the village code. You guys wrote the historic overlay district this way. You can't change one word to another. It's all cut and dry. That's how boards end up in court. That's how boards get sued when they, believe that one word is different from what's actually in the code.
But the historic district overlay requires that any alteration, cornice features, portions of facades, window openings,
Anything. Yep.
right?
Has to come to the planning board.
Right.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. And she got a
So she
violation.
did that after the fact. She just did that.
Yeah, but she's
Right.
come to the planning board for site plan approval and it was not given.
Yeah.
We need it. Can you talk
Yeah,
to
this
Michelle about
doesn't,
this?
this doesn't make any
So,
sense.
okay. So
I-
so basically, she was issued a violation letter for installing a window that is not compliant with the very section of code you just read, Jeff. So to
Yes.
rectify that, to remedy that, she applied for a site plan application and came before you tonight with the intention of resolving the issue. Was this window alteration without site plan approval? And your determination as a board was that she has to install a triple or double gang window at the same elevation of similar or consistent to the other windows in the house. So if she doesn't agree to that, she appeals to the zoning board of appeals. The obvious one is financial constraint. This is a financial hardship created for her.
Self-created.
Self-created financial hardship.
That's right,
to
self-created hardship.
To take what's she's done with this one single window and abide by the determination by you guys tonight. So it'll now be the decision of the zoning board of appeals whether to uphold the planning board's decision or to create their own decision to how to fix her issue.
I get that part of what the zoning board of appeals can do, but if I heard you correctly, she doesn't even have to go to the ZBA. She can sell the house as is. Anyone can buy the house as is. There won't be any title search. They won't know that they're buying a house that has a violation against it until, 16 or 15 months after they move in and they suddenly get a letter of violation and go, the hell is this?
Can you
is
ask
that-
Michelle if this violation is
Yeah.
still good that the CEO issued, if this violation letter would appear on a title search so the new owner would know it? If
I
it's
think
no,
the issue, David, is that anything that was issued by him is under the microscope. And I think you would open Pandora's box if
we
you want to
asked them-
dissect what she did, or what John asked her to do. She's fulfilled what she has to do. She's come before you. She filled out a site plan application. She paid the application fee, and
And
you
we
guys made a
denied it.
determination tonight.
We said deny it, take it out.
Yes,
Can you please ask Michelle about this? So
yeah.
give me a number and I'll call her. I mean, I want to know the answer to this because it's not under a microscope. We discussed this at the planning board and we asked Fenton to go over there, look at it, and he issued a violation. You did work without approval and you altered a historic structure without coming to the planning board. She got 2 violations.
Okay.
At our request, this was not anything under a microscope. This was clear. The planning board asked him to go issue those violations and get her in here to talk about that window. So there's nothing fishy about this. This was clear.
So I think just the 2 things to separate the 2 things. The renovation she did is a building department matter,
Yes,
which will have to come under the building administrator.
correct.
Michelle's is the acting zoning enforcement officer. So her part that she would play is the zoning violation.
Yes,
That the resident installed a window, thereby altering a window on an historic property without site plan approval.
yes.
That is
We denied
essentially,
it. We said,
Right.
no, you have to do something
I think
about
in
it.
the future, I think this board needs to consider when they are doing resolutions that you put a timestamp on the resolution. Because that would allow, you're almost forcing them to do something. So you could say by April 30th, 2021, you need to resolve this or appeal to the zoning board of
This is the
of
problem of
appeals.
not having a zoning enforcement officer at our planning board.
Yeah. Yeah.
Help us get resolved. We have difficult, Lydia's a challenge too, you know, do we need a demolition permit? Because knocking over a new building like we did with 7 South Street's okay, but knocking off a 100-year-old section of the house, according to the law, is going to require a historic demolition permit according to, the historic code, so.
So
Um,
Michelle, as acting CEO, will examine each request from the planning board and consider what is existent in the law.
All right, will you please contact Jean-Claude and find out when he's back? So we can
Yes,
schedule a walkthrough, because we really have to walk through Lydia's property. This has even more issues than 7 South Street, to make sure we do this correctly by the book.
I will start that conversation.
Thank you, Ryan. Anything else? All right, have a good, well, it's 3 weeks till the next meeting, I think. March is a very long month.
Yes, we have about 2.5 weeks, almost 3.
Okay. All right, so I'll see everybody on April 6th. Oh,
Very
and
productive
a
meeting.
walkthrough before that. That's
Yeah.
something.
Yes.
We need a
Yes.
motion to close.
We need a motion to adjourn, yes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you again, James, for helping us out
Yep.
here.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you.
Just expect to be present for April 6th because the trustees will have not had a chance to meet yet. So they won't be meeting until April 13th. So
To approve a candidate, I hope.
hopefully, fingers crossed here.
Not that I miss having Jim here. It's great having you
Oh.
with us. Because, with
No,
John
no.
not here,
No
and
insult taken.
with John not here and Tim definitely not here, we've lost, what do they call that? Institutional memory.
That's right.
A Rolodex of the zoning code, yes.
Yes, exactly. All right, guys.
All right,
everybody
all. Good night.